Call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock, and we'll start with the board norms, which are to maintain our focus, communicate respectfully, be present, keep the board productive and effective, and respect the agenda. Speaking of agenda, do we have any changes to the agenda?
Yeah, I'm going to do a policy update at the end.
Okay.
Whenever you give me the time.
Perfect. Let's do that under new business. Call that E. So policy update.
And were we going to talk about the after school?
Yeah, we're going to do that under.
Yep, it's going to do that under superintendent.
Okay, under superintendent report. Gotcha.
Yep. Great. Any other changes to the agenda?
I'm looking in case there was a last minute change. I talked to Ryan, Ryan Dunn, who had sent in some communication, and he has a family obligation tonight and wouldn't be able. He's wondering if we might be able to shove his correspondence to a later meeting.
Absolutely. We can certainly do that. Okay. Yep, that actually will give us some
Put it down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. Great. Any other changes?
Bill, are you running the? You got one in the waiting room. Thank you.
Any other
Weirdly, I
changes?
have one.
Yeah, we have one from the audience.
That I think I'm listed as Ruthie Hazelton. If that matters.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
it says Ruthie Hazelton and then Christina below me.
Oh, very nice.
Good catch. Road bag.
All right. All right. I must be the minutes, yeah. Any other changes to the agenda? All right, seeing none. Moving to our student report from a fresh face down at the other end of the table. Okay. You want to go ahead and announce yourself? And
Sure. I'm Trevor Hazelton. I'm the new student board member for I'm in 11th grade. So we have started off the year now. I think it's been going really smoothly in our school. And I want to talk about the new class that we've started up in our school called Town Hall, which is trying to get more student voice in the school and trying to get the students more involved in change and what's going on in the school. So our first Town Hall meeting, which is going to be with one student from each high school advisory, is going to be next Friday, and it is focused on food and how we can improve the food, what we like about it, what we don't like about it. Then we're going to have our new chef there, Jake, to get feedback and so that he can help us improve the food. Also, yesterday we had a really amazing speaker come in to talk to us about bullying and suicide. He did a phenomenal job, and everyone was very respectful, and I think it went really well for us. The girls varsity soccer team went to Josh Bowl 2 weekends ago, and they came home with a victory. And the boys varsity will be going to the Josh Bowl tournament this weekend, hopefully coming up with a victory as well. The auditions for the musical this year, which is The Addams Family, happened last week, and they started rehearsals for that this week. There is a refuse to use parent meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock as well.
thank you. Very informative. Any questions?
Thank you.
Comments? All right. Great job. Thank you. Appreciate it. Welcome to the board. Oh, I'm sorry. No. All right. So moving on to correspondence. We did have a couple of nice letters. NewBrook letter, first one on the agenda, that was from Scotty, in appreciation. We also got
Bill.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, Bob just said it was first.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me? There, we're good.
Are we back?
Yep.
We good? All right. So I don't know what was caught there, but I'll just say that we're moving into correspondence. So first one was the NewBrook letter from Scotty in appreciation. And also the second letter was also another thank you letter about appreciating input and communication as well. The third one, we are going to move to our October meeting because the person who presented the PE proposal and syllabus proposal is not able to attend tonight, so we will take that up then. So, all right, moving on to our financial update. I believe Lori's going to give us a presentation. Lori, you're muted if... Bill, did you mute it?
Trying to I know we're not frozen because I can see Emily.
Yeah, I can see movement.
No, you're not the only one. Can folks hear us there in the room? Because, oh, you're now on muted. You were muted in the room.
Oh.
Are we muted now?
We just missed the last 5 minutes of work.
All right, I will... Okay. I will...
Wait, Al, just so you know, it froze.
Yep.
And then came back on, but when it came back on, you guys were muted. And I was trying to text several members trying to get people to notice that you were muted, but
okay.
saw it, so.
Did you hear the wonderful student report?
We heard the vast majority of the student report.
Okay.
And thank you for that.
Perfect. Yeah, I don't want to make him do it again.
That was the important part, I'm sure.
Yeah, yes, exactly. All right, so yeah, I'll just quickly go through correspondence again. So we had a couple thank you letters, the NewBrook letter and the first parent letter. And then the third parent letter, we were actually going to move that to our October meeting because that person is not able to attend tonight and to speak to it. So we'll move that to October. So now moving on to old business financial update. Lori Garland.
I am here. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
I just wanted to give you a quick update on basically where you came out for fiscal year 22. I'll have some better numbers for starting fiscal year 23 next month, but it was included in your board packet. Does everybody have a copy of that in front of them?
Yes.
Okay. So the most important page is page 1, that it just basically gives you a look at your fund balances as of basically the end of August. So in good shape, ended the year with about $200,000 in the general fund, which of course will move to the reserve fund, which puts you at almost $800,000 in reserves. So pretty healthy fund balance to start your budget year, which is just around the corner. And you'll notice some negatives there, ARP-ESSER, that type of thing. It just is basically a movement from the SU to the school districts, and that happens at different times during the year. So that will be covered by the end of fiscal year 23. And the other thing I wanted to point out was the food service reserve of $177,000. So food service, any surplus in that, and the reason for such a large surplus was because the federal government paid paid a little bit differently because of COVID. And of course they were paying for the whole boat, and they also paid at a higher rate. So that actually, increased revenues beyond what was budgeted, leaving a surplus there. So as we're starting to plan for the fiscal year 24 budget, this money has to be used for the food service. So I'll be looking, to the director of operations and the food service manager for, ideas and things like that for the kitchen.
So what I'm hearing is that,
Sorry, one second, Lord.
What I'm hearing is that when the students have their town hall and talk about food, that money is not going to be an issue.
Yep.
So.
I love the tee up.
And at that town hall meeting that you're having, will Mr. Frost be there? Okay.
And you can point out to him there's a $177,000 fund balance. Glad to be able to spend that for him.
That's a
Yes,
great,
Jake-
that's a lot more than
Jake is
pizza.
probably not aware of that yet, but I'm sure he will be very soon,
There you go.
apparently. So, yeah, it just has to go back into the food service program and can't be spent on other things. Also, looking ahead to fiscal year 23, the year we're in, of course, you know that the state of Vermont is providing the difference between what the federal government pays and what is a full cost of a meal. So, there could be the potential for a surplus again for fiscal year 23. So, you had put money in because you are Provision 2, which means all of your students in West River eat for free, no matter who's paying. The taxpayers are paying. That money still needs to go into the food program. So probably looking at a surplus there as well. And then the rest of them pretty much speak for themselves. If you have any questions, of course, I'm always ready to answer anything that you have. We will be starting the budgeting process. We always start with Wyndham Central, and that there is a number of meetings that Wyndham Central's for you to have input into. So I encourage everybody to come to those Wyndham Central meetings, which will be held in November, correct, Bill?
First one, November 16th.
Yes. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, please.
The capital building projects line, is that
Yes.
just because we didn't spend all of it? 'Cause I know we had intentionally kind of thrown more money towards building projects this year.
We got Greg on too.
Right, so what happened with so there's two lines. One is the water project, which is the, basically after the wood boiler project, there was money left over, so there was a revote, so that's ear tagged to the water project. The other fund balance is some that came in from the districts when they merged, and then the balance of it, if you remember correctly, I think it was probably 4 meetings ago, you all voted to whatever was not spent, that Greg was not able to spend out, we would push into the capital fund so that he would have access to that out of the fiscal year 22 money.
So that money's still available for ongoing projects now?
Yes, and he's using it. So he had already planned for that money, it's just it couldn't be used in the time frame of the year ending, right? I had to close the year at some point, so I think it was around $76,000, Greg. I see you on there. It was about $76,000 that we pushed into the capital fund from fiscal year 22 that there was just not time to spend it out. But the projects are still ongoing.
Thank you.
Yeah, Lori, 26,000 of that is the tennis courts. We were called, I think July 5th from the company, Wilson and Lawrence, and he was like, hey, I'm not going to get to you this year. And so we just said, hey, if you can just guarantee us that we'll be the first ones in the spring, we understand. Mike asked the gentleman, hey, is there anything we can do to help? And his response was, unless we have 2 people that want to work for him, that he will not get to us this year. That's all we can do. And then I'll have to look back at it. I haven't had a chance to settle down into the school year here yet and look at where that other money is from. We just scheduled to meet with Adam Tower today to get the money back from the second round of lighting upgrade. And I know that there's some money in there. Oh, and there's another almost 40,000 of it that's being spent on the badging project, which is the Dutton, Leland and Gray, Townsend, NewBrook will all get badging, and we're still working with the locksmith on rekeying Jamaica. They had some keying issues and some door issues that we wanted to address first. to just kind of see how this whole badging went before we tried to then do them. As long as everything goes smooth, we'll then slide in and we'll also do Jamaica stores. So.
And just to clarify, this does not include the $150,000 for fiscal year 23 that you did put into that budget. So this, Greg has a plan for that as well. It's not showing up on this report, but when we start to look at fiscal year 23, that's when we'll bring that money into the capital fund for him to use.
Can anybody answer to the status of the Journey East program, the funds that are sitting in there? Are we going to eventually use them, or are we evolving that into something else?
Didn't we hire a grant writer?
We hired a
We hired a grant writer, but is that?
Here's Bob.
So as you guys might remember, you guys voted last year when we developed the budget to hire a Journey East director. We made a 2-year commitment to explore how we can make that feasible, financially feasible operation, and what we re-envision it might look like for what we call Journey East 2.0. We hired that person. Jessa Harger is her name. She's begun working this school year, and I'm guessing at some point, maybe this winter, she'll report out to you guys to see where she's at and collect information from you guys. She's already been in touch with Tom Connor. She's been working with Jesse Riemenschneider. She's got a conversation with Ann Landenberger scheduled, because Ann was one of the founders as well, and basically doing her research to figure out more on the historical side and try to think about imagining where it's going to go. So that money that is in that fund has been slated and put aside for, at the time, I believe we could do one more trip and one more hosting with those funds, and that is our plan as soon as we are able to, unless we change our destination, because China at this point is still not a really great place to go to. There's too many places closing and such. Last we knew, it was still not ideal. So that's where we're at. Does that answer your question?
Yep. I'm good.
Thanks, Bob. All right. Any other questions? Lori and team, as always, great job. Amazing. They're always able to squeeze, and Greg, you're there too, so you guys just squeeze, and make the most of everything. Really appreciate it. And yeah, look forward to all the changes that are coming, Greg. I know you've done a ton already, but more to come.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm actually just pulling it up right now, and some of what we did with this year's 150, because I did start to build it out, is we're doing the fire alarm panel project in Townsend. We did the LED in the hallways and the couple of classrooms at Townsend and NewBrook with this year's money. And we invested in some grounds, and we got a new irrigation pump. We're adding some lines to the irrigation to cover the whole baseball field. We got starting with the pump this summer and using it, and it blew up. And then we realized the motor was too small for the system, and so we ordered one. Everybody else told us 10 weeks. We found one online, and then it was 5 weeks out. I picked up the pump Tuesday, and so it will hopefully be installed by the end of the week. And we added some new lines, repaired all the ones out on the softball field, the lower soccer field area. The zone valves on those had all failed, and there was a leak in the line. We've had the line repaired, and all the zone valves, they used to be set up where it was just one feed that ran down to all 3 of them, and then you had to manually switch them, and now they'll all have their own controller, and we're putting in a new control system that will actually, if we can get the Wi-Fi down there, it'll be Wi-Fi enabled, so at like 2:30, someone could be at home and say, oh, the field's all dry, and turn it on and water the infield or whatever. So it's exciting stuff with that.
Yeah, that's great, Greg. I just wanted to say, I thought maybe aliens were coming because of all the circles that I saw in the field. I'm glad you answered that. That's good.
We were trying to do crop circles for a little bit and give people a good scare.
Steal his Wi-Fi password and turn it on at 2 in the morning.
I'm sorry, I cut you off, Greg. Go ahead.
Yeah. It will surely be more. So.
Awesome. Really appreciate it. Thank you. That's awesome. All right. Moving on to approving the minutes of August 10th. I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes,
As
August 10th.
adjusted or whatever, right?
As amended.
We don't have
As
it as amended,
amended.
thank you. We don't have a Ruthie music.
The names that were.
Substituting Katie for Ruthie.
Yes. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I like Ruthie.
She was on there too.
She
Yes,
was.
that's what it meant. It was Ruthie Wright.
Ruthie.
Yes.
Isn't she a board
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, so
she's,
she should
she's
probably
not
be
listed.
added.
She should be listed as a board member.
Yeah,
Oh, good point. There you go.
another amendment.
Further amendment, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Let's start. Who else do we have in? I think it's Emily out in Zoom land. Emily, how do you vote?
I vote yes, and I'll just quickly, before we move on to other votes, I'll just say, I would love to have been there tonight, but I had a meeting that didn't get over until about, well, I left my meeting at 7. So, apologies for not being in the room. It looks like I may be the only one.
That's okay, Emily. We know how busy you are and we appreciate you joining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah.
Yes.
Oh, and I, geez, hello, Ken. How did I miss you at the end?
Yes.
Thank you, Crystal.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yeah. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to approve the financials.
All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the financials as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none. Emily, how do you vote?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
Crystal?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Long-term planning update. So, we had a great meeting on Monday. Future, we have feasibility study coming up. We have
1 o'clock
actually-
tomorrow is our first, and scheduling one Friday morning, either at 9 or at 11. Those are going to be our first 2 vendors. And Greg has put out a call to his contacts and trying to get some more vendors to talk to next week. So the officers, Bob and Greg and myself are trying to make all this meeting. And Dana, thank you very much for putting your thoughts from your experience the last couple of years exploring the feasibility of the one campus model into some very nice bullet points. That's helpful so we don't talk to people.
It was pretty much what, 4 of us?
Well, I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you made it very simple. You know, talked about locations, you talked about buildings, you talked about concerns. It was unbelievably helpful.
If you have any questions,
Oh,
explain it.
made it very eager.
Yes, thank you, Dana. And if anybody else would like to do the same, for sure, any and all input to that, so we can bring it for feasibility, would be great. Let's see, other than that, just go back over the notes of exactly what we did talk about. So,
I can give an update on the school quality review. I had my first meeting with a vendor on Friday, and I put out calls to 2 other vendors for that school quality review. So, goal is to report back to you guys in October with some parameters, the scope and costs, and the ability and timing of these partners. Bob got a hand.
go ahead, Bob.
Just before this meeting, I just want to give you guys an update. I did meet with my principal advisory council and was describing for them the motions that you guys took on Monday night. In particular, we talked about the school quality review. And I would say that we didn't vote, and it's not a particularly big group, but there was a general feeling that they would love to see Leland and Gray re-explore NEASC accreditation, and maybe that's something we want to think about. If I can explore the cost of that, but if that would suit the need of the secondary approach to this review, that would be something they would support as a PAC. But I just wanted to offer that out there. Maybe the elementary and the secondary do two different things. I don't know. But obviously NEASC is only a secondary schools thing. So just want to share with you what the PAC was saying.
Yeah, Bob, if I remember correctly, I mean, the reporting that came out of that was great and really kind of transformative. That was probably 10 to 15 years ago?
It was a while back, and I know at the time cost was a factor in why the board and the administration didn't pursue it. But I do know Jen and Bill and I have had conversations with NEASC pre-COVID. The cost has come down, the process has been streamlined, I guess, and because they heard those concerns from a lot of schools. And so I don't remember exactly what the exact figure was, but I could find that out and get that to Bill as well. If obviously we wouldn't be able to build it into a budget if you want to do it this year, you'd have to spend it, but I could find out what the process would be and what that would be if that's something you guys are interested in, or just tell me how you want to proceed. And I don't want to step on the toes of Bill's work he's already doing either, so maybe you guys want something that's all together for the whole district, I don't know, but just wanted to offer that up.
Yeah, I'd say absolutely. More information, the better.
I'll follow up with that.
Okay.
Quick question on that.
Sure.
In what role do the students play in those assessments?
Both, they would be interviewed at the minimum, but probably all outcomes, possibly alumni, yes. That, in fact, on Monday night, less suggested making sure that alumni is part of it. I have the key questions that the board gave me, and then, as Lindsay pointed out, the experts probably have questions that they are saying are common for us to ask. Yes, I can't imagine you wouldn't interview students and alumni to get an idea of it.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're not going to get a mathematical answer, because there's no more to it than a test score.
No, we need quantitative.
Yeah, I mean, Bob, it was incredibly comprehensive. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Emily. Maybe you can illuminate on this too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not the only one here who was sitting on there when we made the decision to leave the NEASC process, but I was there, and Bob's absolutely right. The cost was a driving factor, and my memory was it was over $20,000. And the committee commitment for staff and others was huge, and it played a huge role, as well as the cost. And Joe, you might be able to speak to that as well, but literally the commitment for our staff was really big. And so I want to make sure that we're thinking about that as we move through this process. And Bob, I know you'll look into that and figure all that part out. But because as I said at Monday's meeting, I want to make sure that we're not adding any extra burden onto a stressed system that we're in right now. But I actually think it's really worth exploring whether we enter this NEASC process again. And I'm heartened by the comments that Bob just gave, that they have heard the concerns and have modified the process. So I would really recommend we start to look into this. And Bill, when you were answering Drew, I couldn't hear most of what you were saying because your voice was a little too low, but student feedback is super important to me in all of this as well. Just laying that out there.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank
you. And just to add to that too, I think that because the cost has come down, the things have been streamlined, I think the toll to staff is reduced. It doesn't mean that there's none, obviously, but it is reduced. I'll find more out about that. The second reason that the PAC believed that this was an important move for us was the PR side of things as well. And with all the scrutiny that Leland has come under in through this long-term planning piece, that being accredited would be something that we should have and be able to. So it's sort of two birds with one stone was what they were thinking. So.
Thank you. Yeah, just to kind of give a cursory review of what we did talk about and what we voted on. as well. One of the questions was whether to go from 3 schools to 2 schools, and we voted to stay with 3 schools. But as everybody said, that does not mean we're hitting the pause button. That means we are doing all of this work that was just talked about, the feasibility study, the school quality review, etc., to find out what we can do, whether it is, as was the next question, do we want to go to a one campus model or serve our students in other ways? Is there another model? All that will be discovered, and we'll find out the final path that we want to take. And then also, yes, as I've already talked about, school quality review and feasibility study. So those were the major topics from that meeting. Did I miss anything? No? All right. This table. Right. All right, now comes the time where we have public comment. We have a half an hour slated, so looks like everybody has about 5 minutes. Yeah, so when you want to speak, please just state your name, what town you're from, and we will record the time. We'll start with 2 minutes for folks. Obviously, we can come back to folks after everybody has had an opportunity to speak. So, is there anybody who wants to jump in? Ruthie?
I'm Robin Patnode. I'm from Townsend. I'm a parent and a staff member, and I would like public comment later, if possible. I have nothing to talk about right now. But
Okay.
if there is time later on, I'm sure I'll have plenty to talk about.
Is there any particular point in time that you were thinking about?
Following after school and before care.
Gotcha. Okay. So that would be during Bill's superintendent's report. So we can, we can certainly, since it sounds like we'll have plenty of that half an hour left, we can reslot it.
Thank you for accommodating.
Absolutely. You bet. Anybody else? Wow. Okay. Well, we do have plenty of time left then. All right. So moving on to principal reports. Let's see. Who we have out there? Top of my list, I see Bob.
So, yeah, I guess I threw my report in the pile there. I don't know really if there's any questions you guys have specifically about that. I have highlighted some of the stuff around some of the learning that teachers have been doing around PBL and some of the stuff. I mean, Trevor already talked about the town anything, which is great, student voice. So I guess are there any questions that folks have or anything specific you want to dig deeper into?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead, Lindsay.
I know it's early, but can you give us an update on the PBL Wednesdays and how the later arrival is working for everybody? Have you had complaints or hurrahs?
Sure. I think the first day we had it was the first day the whole school was there. So that was a little bit bumpy. The upperclassmen came in on a late arrival day. There was a few wrinkles in the bus stuff. We got that nailed down. One of the challenges of the busing was to do that second run. We were down a bus because one of the buses is used for our Career Center run, I believe. And so we didn't have access to the normal number of buses. So we had to sort of put out a survey to parents to find out who was going to take advantage of that, and then set up a schedule of stops based on that. And I think that's smoothed out. Maybe it was a little rough the first day, but I think that's just typical first day stuff. As far as the supervision downstairs, we have a bunch of support staff that are down there with different people, because the teachers, of course, are doing their planning. But it seems to be going well. The numbers, I think, are going to decrease probably over time with the number of kids who are there. as people take advantage more of that later bus or just coming in later. But so far it's been good. Some students have actually even received some intervention during that time with some special educators. So yeah, I think maybe it was probably a little bumpy on day one, but I feel like it's smoothing out, and yeah, we'll be rolling out the actual first day of the PBL. Is next week maybe? Yeah, if it was the third Wednesday, so it must be next week that is the first actual like PBL block for the kids. That is, this has all been the planning leading up to it, but the kids will actually start, and middle and high school are doing separate things, but teachers have been working hard on it, and as I said in my report, despite the wrinkle of having our PBL coordinator depart at the beginning of the school year, we picked up some gaps with other people stepping up with some stipends to do some of those roles, which has freed up some additional money with Esther to do extend some other programs that we have. And anyways, I don't want to, it's all in the report, but yeah, I feel like it's off to a decent start, although the first day was probably what we'd expect it to be, bumpy.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob.
All right, any other questions? No? All right, oh, people are moving around here. Let's go with Scotty.
Hey, you guys, you have my report. I'd like to just highlight a couple of things. You know, we're in the midst of our seasonal benchmark assessments right now, and our classroom teachers have been working with our kids to get this baseline score for all the students, which this year, I mean, I guess it's no more important than any other year, but with COVID and everything that's happened, it's really important that we get a nice baseline, that we understand where the gaps are, and how to best address our student need. Tomorrow, I think almost everyone in our district, maybe everyone in our district, is going to a puppet show. I'm sorry, Monica, I'm thinking I go first, so then I get to say all these things. But we're sharing resources. Actually, Monica and her school are going to roll up on my school at 10 o'clock, I think, tomorrow morning, somewhere around then. And then we're going to fill that bus and then fill another bus. And we're all going down to the Latches to see a puppet show. It's really exciting. We have to pay a little bit because we're a little over 50, but it's almost free, and it's going to be a really great time. The kids are really excited. At NewBrook, we're especially excited because it's pizza day. So when we get back, we're all going to eat pizza, and then we're going to have our first all-school recess in quite some time. In fact, I think it might be since COVID started that we haven't had an all-school. We normally do K-2 and 3 to 5. But since the way it works tomorrow, it'll be best to just do it that way. It'll be a lot of fun. The weather's going to be nice. We've already taught all of our PBIS expectations this year. We had our bus drill last week, thanks to West River Transportation for working with us and our bus drivers. What we basically do is we teach the children the expectations in the classroom, in the hallway, on the playground, so then the kids fully understand what the teachers expect in terms of their behavior. We're in the midst of our Bridges mathematics implementation, and I think it's going really well. I mean, it's a pretty complicated new program, and it's going to take the teachers some time to. There's a lot of hands-on materials that come along with it. And we had to buy some bins to put all that stuff in, but the teachers, when I walk around and really check it out, it's really amazing to see the kids are doing some very different activities in their classrooms. A lot of gamification of the practice end of math, which I think is really appealing to the kids. I want to say I feel very lucky. We're fully hired. We have our new school nurses starting next week, which, just so the board is aware, at NewBrook, what this means is we're going to have a full-time nurse and a full-time counselor who is split special ed and regular ed because she serves our TLC, Carrie Toll. And then we're also going to have, I'm back full-time as well, so I just feel like our level of service at NewBrook is really appropriate, and I really look forward to being able to serve the teachers as they serve the kids. I want to say thank you, finally, and this is the last thing I'll say, to Miss Beth Merrill. Brady Anderson, he moved to Oregon over the summer, and he was running our TLC, which is our inclusive intensive needs program that is at NewBrook Elementary School. Beth stepped in out of the goodness of her heart and is just killing it. And we're really serving those kids, and we're including them in classrooms whenever we possibly can, and we're giving them specialized instruction at the TLC. And Beth is an incredible instructor and educator, and it's going very well. So I want to say I'm very proud of that. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Seeing none.
Doesn't sound like it.
Thanks,
Good
Scotty.
job,
Very
Scotty.
thorough. Appreciate it. And well, let's see, Monica, did he steal all your thunder?
Almost, but I'm used to that with him. So just like NewBrook, we are almost complete with our benchmark assessment. So we're really looking forward to analyzing the data and seeing where we need to fill in some gaps. We also went through the PBIS routines and expectations. We did our bus drill. We did our evacuation drill. I do want to say that our new K2 teacher, Tina Roberts, is a perfect fit for the school. It seems like that she's been there forever. She just is, I cannot say enough great things about her. So you get a chance to talk to her, meet her. She is a wonderful, wonderful teacher. And also, let's see, I'm looking at my notes here. Oh, we're excited about the field trip tomorrow. We also have our open house scheduled for September 19th. And, and last week we actually had Wyndham Elementary come over to our school. So we combined our classes and we went for a hike in the state park and had snacks together. And we just had a great time socializing between the two schools. So any questions?
All right. Well, thank you very much, Monica. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
He didn't take all your thunder. And Renee.
Yeah, so similar to Monica and the other schools, we've started our benchmark assessments and are rolling through those. After that, we'll get into our diagnostic assessments, and that kind of drills down what we'll do for our small groups for intervention. Following up on our literacy PD from our district-wide in August, I've spent my REAP money on intervention, research-based programs and resources for teachers to use in small groups, and so that's exciting. We're getting more materials in the hands of the teachers. We're in the process of hiring for pre-K aftercare. So we surveyed parents, really low enrollment numbers, but for those 3 families, we're actually able to make it happen, and we're going to somewhat break even, maybe even a little more. Hopefully, after it starts, we will get more parents using it, maybe not Monday through Friday, but here and there as they need it. As Greg explained, we've got some magnetic doors coming into Townsend, which is great. We have a interesting situation where in the lobby, we have the door that goes straight down the hallway, and then we have a staircase that goes up to the top floor. So being able to keep those doors locked with the new badging system that's coming will be even safer. And we have a new fire alarm panel coming in. I think that's about it. Any questions?
So I have one question.
Oh, go ahead, Crystal.
With the Townsend aftercare, will that be an opportunity for Leland and Gray students to get community service? No?
When I thought we were going to have higher numbers, so I did reach out to Terry about getting a high school student as like a backup support. But with only 3 families signing up, we really only had room for 1 employee, which would be the adult. So We do have some interns coming in though, that are going to support kindergarten and 3rd grade.
Question?
I have a question.
Yes, sir, Ken.
How many students K through 5 in
Townsend?
In Townsend. I didn't see that in the report.
We have high 70s, right? 70.
Yeah, I know with pre-K we have like 87, so 87 minus 22 is 60, 65?
74.
No.
Is what Robin's saying.
It's a 74.
74.
Pre-K.
Sorry.
Pre-K is 89.
On the spot math.
Say it again. I'm not getting an accurate, I'm getting different numbers. I'm just curious.
With the new enrollments that we just had, we had some late enrollments as of Monday. We had another student enroll. Pre-K through 5, we have 89. So that would make 74 K through 5.
So we have 15 pre-K.
What's that?
15.
Thank you.
I heard 24 pre-K, now I'm hearing 15 pre-K.
What? What did I? Sorry. Okay. 74. Wouldn't that be? Would that be? I can't do math. I organize, not math. Anyway, yeah. So there's
Go with 89 total.
20. Yeah. 65. Yeah.
65.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, we're all on the same page then. Okay.
It's a lot of pre-K.
20. Yeah. 25.
Wow. All right. Thank you, Renee. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to Bill and Superintendent.
Yeah, hey. Couple reminders about dates. September 28th is a WCSU meeting here. It'll be solely for superintendent interview for the WCSU board. October 26th is the WCSU retreat. It'll be at 6 o'clock. Location to be determined. There will be dinner. So we have 6 members on this board. Hazelton, West, Hazelton, Al, me, Mike, Joe, Emily, K-Dog.
I've crashed once.
28, 26. 28, 26.
We got to come back.
Oh,
28, 26, that's good. And the superintendent interviews are occurring with our different stakeholder groups. We've had 2 stakeholder groups so far. We have 3 more that will be finished before that meeting on the 28th. They're all being facilitated by WCSU Chair Richard Werner. We've done so far the stakeholder group for the central office and administrative staff and the school staff. And the 20th will be another group. 22nd is students, and the 26th is community. 20th is parents. 20th is parents. 22nd is students. 26th is community. Anybody who's interested, you can email supersearch@wyndhamcentral.org if you haven't already.
A question about that?
Sure.
Just like right in the middle of your report.
I'm flexible, man.
Just throwing out there that I don't know what the scheduling needs for the WCSU chair were, but I know that the student meeting was not happening during the school day, which severely limits which students could participate.
It got moved.
Again?
2 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Based on the requests of the students.
Yeah. The middle school has a game. All the middle school soccer students can participate, but that's okay. It just is what it is. It's impossible, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, we had it at 4, then we moved it to 2
Okay.
because of the request of the students.
Okay.
Will the middle school student who's already signed up be?
Nope.
They can attend as a community member. sorry. Yeah, it's
9 a.m. was a bad choice.
Hey man, I tried.
Okay.
I did the best.
It's fair.
Sorry.
It's okay.
And then we had a couple specific things to follow up on that I figured we just do underneath our report. The first one was some questions from the board about transportation at 5 or 5:30. So Greg checked in with West River Transportation, provided you an answer there that they cannot do 5 or 5:30. And then checked in with the director of after-school programming to find out how many people rode the bus at the last time. And it was most often 1 or 2 students that were riding that bus. Grand total, the max was 8, so I wanted to make sure I provided that data for you all. And then the before care question, I would like to be able to go ahead and survey families, but I didn't want to survey families if there wasn't going to be a possibility that we could make it happen. So with the board's permission, I'd like to survey the families, find out the need, but be upfront and honest that even when we find out the need, we're going to have to find people that are going to do it. And then work through the logistics that we tried to point out, because it depends on how many kids, where the kids are, so we make sure that we can provide that service if we can, and also be upfront and transparent that it's very difficult to find employees or to extend employees, and also have logistics for if I'm the employee and I'm sick, what does that look like? How do we communicate with parents? Because as that rhythmic occurrence happens, we want to make sure that those communications are there. So I would just like, that's what I'd like to do, but I didn't want to start surveying people if we weren't going to go through that whole process. So can I get a thumbs up from the board to just do that?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Okay. Question, what is the start time that we're targeting?
We're looking at 7 a.m.
7 a.m., okay. Which is half an hour, 40 minutes?
Well, it depends on the school.
Right, right.
So at Townsend, it would be from 7 to 7:45. At NewBrook, it would be from 7 to 8. Jamaica, it would be 7 to 8.
Does it have to be an employee, or
No.
can it be a vetted community member?
Yeah, no. We will make them. We're going to pay them, so they'll be an employee.
Okay.
It's just an odd time.
Yeah.
And I need to, if it's like pre-K rules, if there's 9 there, how many people do we have? Who's going to back up if we don't? I just want to make sure I do it well and totally honest with everybody before I get their hopes up that it's possible.
So whoever we choose, or if it's a teacher and they want to extend their day by a half an hour, whatever it is, we just stipend them the additional.
Right, so we have to make sure that we are following all of our contractual CBA rules.
Right, right.
But we can make sure that the appropriate payment is made based under the federal labor laws, that each individual person that might satisfy the requirement, whether they're an exempt employee or not exempt employee, how they would fit.
Very well said.
I don't know if there's any possibility of having 1 or 2 staff members that literally just start their day the hour early or half an hour early, depending on what it is, and then just leave that little bit early.
Yes, that's something that the principals will look into. The challenge of that is if the employee is working for us from 7:45 to 3:15 and we need them at that last hour of the day, 2:15 to 3:15, I need to make sure that the principal can say, yeah, they're gone at 2:15. So yeah, we'll check in all that. I just need to know what the need is. I want to be unbelievably honest with parents that it's tough to find people, but I don't want to give false hope.
The need is really important.
How big
Are you building something for 4 students or 40 students?
Exactly. Right. Shows the intensity of the solution.
And also, it may be in that survey asking like what time. If we start a drop off at 7, maybe you don't need to drop off at NewBrook until 7:50, but you can't get into NewBrook until 8, right? So maybe you only need 10 minutes of that. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, so when I ask the people, ask what time they're going to drop off.
So if there is a need for 10 kids to be 15 minutes earlier, that's a whole lot different than
Yeah, so we
an
can do,
hour
are
or
you
whatever.
interested and what time
Yeah.
is that? Okay, that's good, thank you.
Lindsay? Yeah. Intended
So
drop
you
off.
guys cool
Yeah.
with me working with the principals to go forth on that? Okay. And then Robin, did you have a follow-up question on that? Right? I mean,
Yes.
or,
No, you're right, you're right.
Right?
Board,
I don't-
anybody
I don't
else? No? All right, public comment.
I just have a little one for this one. The rest was more after school. Just a thought with that. Robin Patno, Townsend, parent, employee. Possibility of an employee that would start that hour before, but could also support during the day. We're always short-handed and I guess I can't speak to all schools, but we could always use another set of hands. Whether it's subbing, lunch and recess duties for pre-K and our regular, maybe a person who could come in for 7 a.m. and then work till 1, or following all
Match
those
that
duties.
11 to 1 position.
And that would make somebody a little more incentive to do it instead of, oh, I gotta go for an hour. You know,
And
why
again,
leave
that-
your house for an hour?
that
when-
goes to the need thing, right? If the
You know,
need is
and that- yeah.
substantial, then
Yeah,
you might want to match the gap between 8 and 10:30.
right.
Okay.
So, just a
No,
idea.
that's great. Love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron. Anybody else? Public? Seeing none, do we want to?
All right, and then after school, I asked our director of after school, who is who's already resigned, but is graciously working on a per hour basis to help us get our new system up and running, which I very much appreciate. I asked her if she would just share with you all, I believe she emailed you guys, just so we had a question on Monday night, so I wanted to make sure that that could be answered for you all, of, you know, why was the design made in the way that it was? And so I have her explanation, and we have Greg on here, but essentially when we didn't get the grant, they talked about having non-equitable environments and lengths of time in our current structure. And so that was one of the things that was dinged, because we had different levels of time and service. So that was kind of a general thing. But then you get down to the really hardcore logistics. When does school start? When does school end? What kind of transportation is currently going on? Which direction are they going? Which direction could they come? Do they have the drivers? Could you make it happen? Does that match with the rules of feeding not just a snack, but feeding a dinner and those logistics? So she did a great job, met with Greg, thought through all the possibilities, and picked the option that would be the most equitable service for all three populations of students, trying to think in the best way possible about parents and challenges, extending it to 5:30 so that it could be at a time when parents could pick up in either location, and giving a choice to all students to attend one of two locations at either end of the distance. So that was the design, and I thought it was important for the board after Monday night just to understand how it came through. That was it. And then public comment.
Does the board have any first questions? No? All right, Robin, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Robin Patnode, Townsend, parent and employee. I was more here to represent some of our voiceless families in the community. I've had, I first want to say I'm grateful for what work has been put in for the after-school program to continue this year. The problem that we're having at Townsend is there is going to be some inequity of families who use our program and who cannot now. There are families who work second shift, single vehicle homes, no vehicle homes, and they now cannot use after school, where their children were safe and fed, and now they will be home alone. There is no transportation from NewBrook, and that's a struggle for these kids. Again, Same thing with sports, which is lumped into it now. Again, I have families calling, my kid can't play because they can't get back home. So again, inequity of students being able to get to NewBrook, yes, but they can't get home in a safe manner or a timely fashion that works for their family. So something to think about. We had 40 plus students every session at Townsend, and there are now that many students, again, who are possibly not going to be able to do that depending on their family circumstances. So just something to think about for the future. I'd really love to have something back at Townsend to allow these families something. So
Just A, thank you. It's really important. B, I think creating the plan wasn't trying to exclude anybody, but trying to include as many as possible.
And I absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
We don't run the sports program, so
Right.
it's challenging for us to be in control of that. I will say that the discussions between our after-school director, who again is working beyond her contract, and working with both the principals at JVS and NewBrook and the site coordinators to assist, if possible, with carpooling and things like that. No, it's not ideal. And the increase of the time. I understand that if you have one car or no car. So I believe there was really good faith effort to try to mitigate some of those challenges. Probably doesn't eliminate them, but I do think that there was an enormous amount of thought and effort to try to find the best solution.
I absolutely see that. From 0 to as much as has been put into it is very evident. I'm just talking to that little tiny group that voice is typically not heard, and they just say, okay, well, we'll just have to do that. So I'm just here to represent those few families. So
You got a couple hands up.
Renee.
I was just curious. I think I probably already know the answer to this. Maybe this is more a Bill question, but Townsend had a couple after-school programs that were really specific to Townsend. So we had like a school newspaper that was going on, and then our tutoring program was really robust. Just wondering if those things can continue, or is that like on Townsend's budget? How might that work if we wanted to do that?
If I understand that tutoring was done through your REAP grant, but I think you just already used that money for intervention materials. And the newspaper, I can't speak to, but it's a great idea, and it can be done at multiple locations, and could still be done at Townsend, just not through an after-school program. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Renee. Go ahead, Greg.
I just wanted to say that the number one driving force when I met with the coordinator this summer was one of the main reasons we lost the grant was that we don't run the program long enough. That you have to run X number of hours to get that. As soon as we extended past 4:30, it didn't matter where you were running it, you were going to lose bus transportation. West River Transportation drivers start as early as 6 a.m., which means, the ones coming from Brattleboro are leaving their houses at 5:30 in the morning. And if they don't start picking kids up till 5:30 in the afternoon, they're not getting, they're working 13-hour days, and they're only getting paid probably 8 of it, maybe 9 of it, because they have the downtime in between routes. So they weren't interested. So I requested that he poll his drivers. His driver said if it's later than that, then we can't do it. They have families too, and so that really was what drove it. The push was to try to run it all at one location, to try to do everything at NewBrook, and it was just impossible without literally changing school days. Like requesting to change, say, JVS's start and finish time to get kids from JVS down there without them spending so much time on a bus. You know what I mean? That they would miss, half of their after-school time just due to the fact that they were on a bus, getting picked up at 3 o'clock, not getting down. They wouldn't have gotten down to NewBrook until 3:45. you know? And so that was really what drove it. As far as the after-school sports thing, I had no idea that was being lumped in with after-school stuff, but we're happy to have the buses help. We actually had our grounds guy down there helping to line up some fields, so we're happy, you know, to support in any way we can, but that's, you know, just kind of where that all went. I just wanted to clarify.
Thanks, Greg. Chris?
Hi, Chris Jers. I have a question because I understand having to have a longer time period, but Townsend starts school almost an hour before everyone else. And I know some parents may not want their kids to go till 5:30. Is there a way that we could offer an after-school program at Townsend? And that way, people who want to do a pickup at 4:30 could do pickup, but they still have the option to go till the 5:30 if they went to Newfane or Jamaica. Just a thought, because then we could service all the kids in the district. Or at least give that as an opportunity.
There is no money to run 3.
Got it.
Al, I have a question. Maybe it's a Greg question. I know we now have all of the car leases instead of using the Adventure limousine service. I'm wondering if we could somehow add a van, like if we had a person that the district is paying to run, like literally like a minivan from Jamaica through and back, or whatever.
If you put more than 5 kids in a car, you have to have a CDL. That's all I know. And so you run into is, if you have 8 kids, now you need 2 vans. Now, and 2 employees, and so, you know what I mean? It just, I hear you, we really did. I worked with special ed on, like, is there anything we could do as far as, like, could we get the kids with the special ed vehicles, and like we really did try to play with it as much as we could, and so it all broke down to, if you had a large group of kids decide that they wanted involvement, that we would never be able to meet the need. You know what I mean? If you got to say 15.
Right. So I guess my question is, if we're, based on what's in the packet, it was most often 1 or 2 students. If that's the case, that's definitely less than 5. And if it was like somehow sign up ahead of time so you know if you qualify for the ride that day or something, like it seems like we could do it in less than 5. Just, I don't know what the cost of that is. Maybe it's not even feasible. I don't know. Maybe it is.
We didn't really think of that. I mean, you're talking about an upfront cost of $30,000 to $50,000 for the vehicle. That, right, at this point is district money, and then you've still got to find someone that wants to work for 2 hours or an hour. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we struggle for special ed drivers for the 4 vehicles we have. Filling those 4 driving spots is a struggle, and they're pretty good routes. You know, like they're a couple hours each, at least on each end of it. You know, so we didn't really. I'll be honest, we didn't go down that path, because I just think it was about, like, how can we do as much as we can within the structures that we have. And just, you know, given the end date, the end time at Wyndham, or I'm sorry, at Jamaica, there was just no way to get Jamaica kids all the way down to NewBrook in a reasonable amount of time. So we ended up going with 2 locations.
One last follow-up with that. I know that there had been some talk in the past, at least within the NewBrook PTO and whatnot, of the possibility of the district having a vehicle or a couple of vehicles that were leased for, like, field trips. We don't always have to drive an entire bus or necessarily pay the bus. And I know that's not something that's going to happen immediately, but it's something to consider, where again here you're in one more spot where, boy, if we just had that, like, couple seats, it would have saved the day. Anyway, just throwing it out there.
I completely agree. That, you know, I've long pushed Todd at West River, like, hey man, if you had a couple of 20-person buses, we could probably do some stuff during the day and use them and make use of them, you know what I mean? And a lot of times he's just like, I don't know if I have people that want to work during, you know, they like their time off in between it. And so, you know, it's just, and he's a contractor, and as long as he's doing his part of the contract, we need him to. I don't beat him up too much, but, you know, like, there's a lot of little needs like that. And I mean, Bob Tebow and I probably had this conversation a dozen times about a van, or Tammy Fawcett and I, right? Like, I got 12 track and field kids. I don't want their parents to have to drive them over to a meet, you know? What can we do? And it's just, I really wish there was an easy answer to that, because, you know, when I was a kid, there was a time where when we first started playing lacrosse, it was a club sport, and we used to rent vans, and 2 teachers drove us to our away games. You know, the 15-passenger vans.
Yep.
Oh, how times have changed with liability insurance.
So I just hear that Tammy's getting her CDL.
She has her CDL. No.
I think Greg, Bob, and Tammy are getting their CDL. That's what I heard.
Oh, yes.
You got another hand.
Okay.
And me.
That's another hand. Chris, did you have another question or comment?
Yeah, actually, this is Paul with Chris, if that's okay.
Hello, Mr. Jers.
That's Mrs. Jers. The screen doesn't lie.
I appreciate you guys thinking of this, and I understand that efforts were made to pick the north and south campuses within some, limitations we had. But when I look at 2 things that are, a little bit different, but it's the same issue. I've been in Townsend since 20-something years. We've never had a year without sports at Townsend since I've been here, and now we do. And I've been involved in the after-school program for myself, 4 years. But Chrissy's, I know they've had a robust program there for 7 or 8 years, and robust support from both parents and students from Leland and Gray, and we lost that. So I guess, I know you guys don't necessarily want to get a question asked on the spot, but I think that we need to look at the amount of kids we have in elementary school that are in sports right now and take in after school. And if that number has greatly reduced, which I'm guessing it has, then our choice was not effective. And as the school board administrations, you look at those indicators of what your kids are doing and what classes are taking, how they're doing, and that's an indicator. So I just ask you guys, I hear some thinking outside the box about vans and all that, and I just don't think we should be happy if we don't have as many kids doing sports, especially in today's world, and we have kids missing after school. So I just hate to see this drop because we made what we thought was the best choice. So thank you.
Thanks,
I'll answer that real quick if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is the after-school sports has nothing to do with the schools or the transportation even, right? I mean, these kids' parents were getting them there for the past 50 years by their parents getting home, driving their kid to practice, and bringing their kid back because it had never been a part of it. So I think the thought was that if we at least got kids one way, that we were being more helpful. As like I said, to run past 4:30, you were going to lose buses either way. And so I think that's it. And to my knowledge, the 21C, the after-school program hasn't started yet. So I don't know that we can say whether or not the numbers have gone up or down or in between at this point. I know that I met with Scotty the other day, and I think he said there were 15 or 18 kids that got off a Townsend bus for soccer practice on Wednesday or Tuesday. Monday? Yeah, Monday was? Yeah, Monday, because I was with him Tuesday. So yeah, so Monday afternoon they had 15 kids from Townsend get off a bus for soccer practice. I don't know what that number means, comparatively to your other years, but that seems like a fairly good number, and they did it on a bus for free, So I mean, like, I guess for me, from an outsider looking in, I see the positives to that. And like I said, I had no idea when I met with after school that the sports was changing. That changed due to whoever runs your Townsend rec sports and whoever runs your NewBrook rec sports. I don't know who made that decision, but I don't believe it was any of you all or any of us in central office.
Thanks, Greg. I think I saw a couple hands, Scotty and then Terry. And then, sorry.
Just really quickly, we had some parent volunteers who walked the kids from the school bus around the back of the school, and Suzanne Paugh, who happens to be our art teacher, but also is a parent volunteer through the sports program, kept the kids and gave them a snack and got them ready for sports. It looked really good to me, but I do hear what the Townsend folks are saying, and I'm not exactly sure how that change happened, but we do have a really nice field we're blessed with behind the school, so it's you know, what's happening right now kind of makes sense to me, but I can understand after hearing the parents tonight that that change does impact people. So again, I mean, unless we wanted to bring the sports in-house and hire somebody to organize it, you know, we're kind of at the whim of the parent volunteers, and again, like, they really showed up. Like, people showed up and took care of those kids and made sure everything went well. So, and it seemed pretty seamless. It seemed like we've been doing it a while, even on the first day. So, I just want to thank all those people that volunteered and got that all done. They worked with us. They made sure it was all laid out and was going to be safe, which was the thing I was worried about, was getting the kids off the bus and making sure we kept everybody safe and accounted for. So,
thanks, Scotty. Terry and then Mike.
Can you guys hear me? I can't turn my video on because then it's a mess.
Audio's good.
Okay, so just a couple things. As a Townsend parent, I can definitely say that while I appreciate things like soccer happening at NewBrook, it's definitely a bit inconvenience. I have heard from a couple parents whose kids are not participating in soccer this year because of the pickup issue. In terms of equity, while Townsend kids are lucky that they can take the bus after school to NewBrook, that same opportunity is not afforded to Jamaica students or Wardsboro students. So the students from those schools who want to participate have to go all the way to Newfane from either Jamaica or Wardsboro. So that is definitely a challenge, in which case it seems like the fields at Townsend perhaps would at least be a little bit more equitable halfway. So again, I understand this is a soccer thing and not something that you guys control, but that's just a little feedback. In terms of the after-school program, it's hard to knock having the opportunity for our students to do after school. I will say that my kids have taken advantage of it every single day of every year that they've been there. Unfortunately, because of these changes, I'm quite sure that my kids are probably not going to be participating in the after-school program either at Jamaica or NewBrook, solely for, as a parent, it's just it's a convenience issue. It's just after a long day's work, having to drive the extra bit out of my way to get home, and the 5:30 end time definitely does not work with my schedule. So it's super unfortunate. I am waiting, obviously, to see what some of the what programs are offered, and I'm going to do my best to make it work. But I definitely think that my family's participation in after school will be less than what it has been in the past. So that's just a little feedback from my perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Mike?
I'm wondering what it would cost to put some sort of after school in Townsend. You know, maybe we could draw on our surplus students over here, our surplus reserves. You know, we have almost 800,000. Is there something we could do to alleviate this? How much would it cost?
I can ask our after-school coordinator to price something out and bring it back to the board.
And like I said, maybe we can use some LNG students to help, you know, like as work study or volunteers or whatever.
I can find that information.
Refresh my memory, how much was the 21st Century grant that we lost? Was it 107?
25 or something, I don't know.
Lori, how much was the grant, 21st Century, if you're still out there? Yeah.
That we applied for, or that typically that we received around 159,000. 160,000 is what we typically have had for the past few years. We applied for more than that because we were going to expand into the middle school, but that was the elementary piece.
Okay. And that was all 3 elementaries?
At the time, yes.
And
that's just the grant money. And
No,
then
no,
there's the local money.
Yeah. Right. No, yeah.
Right.
It's not a
Yeah,
total free.
that was just the grant. I'm sorry. Yes, that was just the grant.
The grant
Yep.
portion of it.
Yeah. No, good
And then
distinction.
it's almost double, you know, so the program is, you know, quite expensive the way it was running before, which was also one of the reasons that we lost the grant, is because our cost per student was too high in relation to the other districts that were applying. It's a competitive grant. It's not a formula-based grant. So we were up against other applications, and our cost per student was close to about $4,000, which was about 2/3 higher, to be honest with you.
Wow.
So,
Would you say that was the #1 reason we lost the grant?
not the #1 reason, no. There was several different reasons, which I think Bill has talked about, but that was one of them that I spoke with the Emmanuel Betts at the state, and we talked at length about that. And, you know, it's unfair, to be honest with you, because we are rural, and it comes back to, you know, having to provide the transportation, or not having to, but to make the program successful, you need to provide the transportation, and that's a big piece of it, as well as we hire highly qualified teachers to, as often as possible, to teach the after-school programs. So it was an expensive program.
Got it. So we
Real
lost
quick,
it. Yeah,
Al,
sorry, go ahead.
did have a program in Jamaica last year? I didn't think that we had one last year in Jamaica.
Yeah, go to Wardsboro. So that's what I was told.
I don't know.
We always have trouble.
So I'll find out that information.
Okay. So we lost it for now, but it doesn't mean we can't regain it, right? So we'll reapply for it.
We are planning to reapply for it next year, which is one of the reasons for basically structuring it for reapplication, you know, for the equity piece and that type of thing, because that is what they're going to look at. They're going to look at what are you running now, and is it structured in a way that will that we will get the grant for next year, and cost is a piece of that.
Okay. This is probably a larger thing, but it's always kind of baffled me. Our start-stop times, why aren't they the same at all 3 schools?
Because of busing.
Location, transportation.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be we could.
I mean, just a thought.
When we did the deep dive into the one campus model,
Eventually
saving
we
graces
get there.
was.
That was going to be my comment. It sounds like we need a single campus.
That's what
It's like we studied
yeah.
this, and it would be better for all of our students.
Everybody get there at the same
It's
time.
almost like I spent a whole year looking at this.
There's that go to
2 years doing that. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
So other than the bus transportation for the sports program, are we providing any other support, stipends for coaches, snacks, anything like that in middle school? Or is
No.
this, they're completely on their own?
They're completely on
All the time.
I think it comes back to the volunteers.
Okay, I have a even more important question about this, which is the legality of putting kids on a bus to a non-school function. Because now that all this is being brought up and to the board's attention, the board needs to address the fact of why we're mixing school and non-school activities on a bus right?
I would see it as a bus stop.
I'm just pointing out that you better find out the legality of, because there's a reason why sports is not, at the elementary schools, is not a school activity anymore.
But that's a separate question than a kid getting on the bus at.
Yeah.
To go to a non-school activity.
So
It's a non-school, it's a
They're going to a
non-school.
birthday party. They're going to a pool party.
Okay, they're going to a birthday party, is it?
They're going to, it doesn't make any difference where they're going.
Susie's little
Well,
peanuts.
Okay, if you're legally sure about that.
I'm very comfortable that, that we can take a kid from Townsend and drop them off at NewBrook with their parents' knowledge of New Hampshire.
Well, I don't know about the going to a birthday party stuff either, but.
Having been a elementary school principal, it's an extremely common thing. Johnny's going to be going over to T-Bones Friday. Okay, I give my permission.
I give my permission for them to.
And then you have to make sure that those letters are over here, because if, you know, Bobby didn't get the letter that's going to T-Bones, then there's got to be
And he
some
didn't get off at
sites.
T-Bones.
But I do feel comfortable with, yes, that training. Greg, I think, wants to weigh in more.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Oh, yeah. I can just say that at Wyndham Southeast, all the after-school programs that are run there are run by a subcontracted group. So they're driving kids from one school to another school to access their basically laughter program, and it's not technically it's not a school function. It's in a school building, but it's a leased room, and it's a the people that run that are not employed by the school. That, you know what I mean? It's a totally separate entity. So I would say it's very common to that, right? You're going from one school to another, you know, and I mean the coaches are teachers still, you know. It's just like you said, it is a non-school function, but it's still. I don't think that would be considered out of the norm.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg. Okay. Do we have anything else on this, or?
That's all I have.
That's enough.
Yeah, that is. Okay. Yeah.
Greg, you still want your hand up?
Put it down. No, put it down.
Yeah. It's like the old hand down.
Mute him, put his hand down, turn him off.
All right, moving on to Equity Coordinator for FY24. Sarah.
Yes, I wanted to just open a discussion about considering hiring a diversity, equity, and inclusion director or coordinator. I've mentioned it to Bill and also a couple members of the JEDI team who feel it may be something that would best serve at the SU level. So the discussion may be, do we support the idea to send to the SU, or just be discussed at the SU? Another JEDI member also suggested that perhaps we task the JEDI team with determining the best route forward for our district, whether that be considering something at the local level or bringing it to the SU. So I just wanted to open a discussion about the possibility of pursuing that.
And just to follow up with that, so that stems from when I had a meeting with the NAACP, that was one of their recommendations. The group that we work with, the Collaborative for Educational Services in Massachusetts, also has made that recommendation as a consideration for boards to make. And I think it is appropriate to have a discussion at a board level or to have a discussion at the SU level. We are meeting on October 26th, so it is good timing to bring this up. You brought it up like in May, and so I wanted to make sure that we did it in September so that it could happen before budgeting and SU level discussion. So I think it makes sense to have it in conversation.
Agreed, so we can get that on the SU agenda for the 1026.
I can put it on the 26 SU agenda.
Yeah, that's great. It does kind of seem like it's an SU level position. Right?
That's how we're operating with the collaborative right now.
Yeah.
Okay. They never have to do with the individual school level, would they? Seems like it could be spread.
Other districts in the state are doing it at the district level.
Yes, and in fact, today I just sent out a communique to the Vermont Superintendents Association asking for any job descriptions of current equity directors. And they're all at the SD level or an SU
Great funding. As we go into the fall and we know we're going to have funding problems?
No funding.
All right, so what are we going to cut?
That's why it's part of the deficit.
It's, realistically, I think we can expect that our budget this year is going to be
not less.
Not less.
Would that be
It's not going to be less.
No.
And our tax impact is going to be higher.
That is correct.
So
that is a prediction that I will be very confident in publicly saying. Right?
So I would just suggest that as we look at adding additional positions, that we should think about how we're going to fund those positions. And if there's no grant funding or state funding to support those positions, it means losing something else in the school. Because realistically, we can't afford what we already have, which is why we've been going through this process for years.
Right, and we know that even if it's at the SU level, we still account for
66.5%
of the agency fund. Yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah, putting it at the SU level kind of hides it from the public view a little bit, because it comes back in some funky formulas.
It's still 2/3 us.
But we still pay the bill.
Yeah.
Still
Yeah.
Exactly. I just want to make sure everybody understands it. Yeah. We can't just throw positions into the SU and magically have them.
Yep.
I mean, we wish we could.
That would be
It would be awesome. But we still pay for those. Well,
Yeah.
they still pay for those.
Yes.
Public.
Sarah, thanks for bringing that.
Then we'll have to hire an SU coordinator.
There you go. All right, anything else on that one?
Can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, I was aware the funding would be an issue. I'm wondering, Bill, are you aware of any place where we can look for grants that would possibly cover a position like this?
I am not aware because all of my same counterparts are doing the exact same thing, searching, discussing this.
Okay.
Do we have that
all the
grant
people that I
writer
have talked to, it is funded exactly as Drew and I were just discussing through an SU or an SD. It is not a grant-funded position that currently has funding, to my knowledge.
Do we have that grant writer yet? Bill, do we have that grant writer yet? There's a task.
Go ahead, Lindsay.
I know that, at least at the high school level, that they have the West River Valley Thrives organization, and I'm wondering if there are similar organizations within the SU, or if they also just work other places within the SU, and maybe to consider if there isn't like an actual equity coordinator, what else is in place, including the JEDI, including, so what other systems do we currently have to work with so that we can make a good financial decision, I guess.
So we have expanded our work with the Collaborative Educational Services, but that is being used as grant funds this year. So that will also be paid, that money rolls off. But that is intentionally there to build up capacity and knowledge of systems that may not need to be continued in the same investment fashion, or it may need to be continued depending on taking a larger picture at all aspects of service delivery and efficiency.
Wow, you said a lot of words. You said nothing. That's good.
Alrighty then, yeah, okay.
Politics 101.
Okay, moving on to public relations.
Which is a very important.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sure. Yep, that was just another idea I had thrown to Bill, and he suggested I bring it up at a meeting because it could involve funding, you felt?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, no. The feedback that we've gotten from the public of having someone like Suzanne Pa regularly provide information to the public, I think at a pretty efficient cost. And Sarah brought up the feedback that she had received during that. As we go into budget season, again, what Drew just pointed out, having the public understand that you can't just keep adding costs and not expect your tax bill and your costs to increase. More communication can always be a benefit, to hear feedback from the people that will actually be paying the bill while we go through the budgeting process. So I think, but because it will cost money, it's just important for the board to understand the value that has already been created. I'm saying something now. The value that has been created by communicating out to the public might be a smart idea to continue through the budgeting process. But it will cost money.
How can we make this position a PBL class?
Dance class.
Just
All right.
announce
AP
our
communication.
Town
communication.
CCD in here.
Heard you go to websites.
Just announce our budget's going to be ridiculously high, like triple what it's been, and the community will flow into all our meetings.
That's one way to do it.
One way to get community involved.
That will happen.
That will bring them.
Can open
No,
them in.
seriously, I think
You
it's
want
a
them?
really
You want?
efficient.
I'll get them in for you.
Yeah.
A really efficient way.
We're gonna close all the
All right.
schools.
Yep.
I will talk to Suzanne about seeing if she can continue her communication as we go through the budget process.
Yeah, that would be great. Perfect. All right, and we added policy update.
Quick policy update. We met Monday night before the LTP meeting, and we have reviewed policies A1, B1, B3, B5, B7, C1, and C10. We're taking a deep dive over the next few months and getting all the policies that are about 3 years old reviewed. And we have some, making sure we have all the required policies. So that's what we're up to.
Wow, very busy. Extensive list there.
It was a long night Monday.
All right, so I think our possible executive session is an executive session.
Well, before we move off of the policy thing,
Okay.
shouldn't we make a motion to have them be officially reviewed so that they can be marked as reviewed, so you won't have to worry about it for another 3 years?
I think what we've done in the past is we just reviewed them, and I don't think we need them.
We can bring them to the next meeting. Just list them all, we'll send them all out so we can mark them.
Yeah.
Again, good to have it just be out, transparent.
Sure.
You already sent me the list, so
Yeah.
I'll produce it for our next board meeting.
All right, no worries.
Perfect. Thanks. All right.
Awesome.
So, I move to find that premature general public knowledge regarding labor relations agreements with employees would put the board at substantial disadvantage because the school board risks disclosing its negotiation strategy if the proposed contract terms are discussed in public. And I make, I'm sorry.
Two different motions?
I believe it is.
Second?
I'll second that. Two motions. For Drew.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Nope.
No? All those in favor say aye, starting with Emily.
Aye.
Aye. I
Aye.
think I got all ayes here.
Aye. Yep.
All right, unanimous, thank you. I make a motion for the board to enter executive session under Title I, Section 313 of the Vermont Statutes for Labor Relations Agreements with Employees, 313A1. WCSU WRED Master Agreement Negotiations.
That's actually wrong, isn't it? Isn't it
Is that
the
right?
ESS?
I believe Joe's right.
Bill,
Sorry.
this is the ESS, not the master agreement, right?
Yes, that's correct. Yes, master agreement.
ESS, master.
Okay, then I just misstated that, so it is
Just
the, it's
WCSU
WRED.
Red Master Agreement Negotiations, and it's the support staff master
But it is.
agreement. Is that correct?
I'm just giving more detail. It's still the
Okay.
WCSU.
Oh, it's still under that, yeah. Okay. And you seconded it? Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. All right, we are out of executive session. I will entertain that final motion.
Well, first off, nothing to report.
Oh, is there anything to report?
Oh,
No action.
no action to be taken out of the executive session.
I'll move to adjourn.
We already had a
I'll
motion
second.
and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Have a great night, everybody.